daily allegory through astrological divination. I know it's been a while, but I've been a very, very busy bee. Our magic motto of the day is the draft remembers, the server confesses, and under Venus's veil, every secret finds its witness. Now, I came up with a new way to end my invocations, so I'm going to be doing a new sacred seal at the ending of my story. So, today's story is about a self-styled criminal network that believes it has outsmarted investigators by hiding behind Substack posts, encrypted apps, burner software, and a shared email account where members communicate through unsent draft messages. Convinced that silence in the unusual channels means invisibility, their scheme begins to unravel when one member, acting out of arrogance and paranoia, hires a hacker to target an enemy and the enemy's family, only for the hacker to discover the group's hypocrisy, betrayal, and careless digital habits. Enraged by what they uncover, the hacker turns the group's own secrecy against them, breaches their private server, and exposes the hidden draft communications that reveal not only their methods, but their conspiracy, their motives, and their chain of command. When the FBI obtains the evidence, what the group thought was clever becomes the very map of their downfall, launching a sweeping investigation into a criminal conspiracy, cybercrime, harassment, and the illusion that intelligence can replace accountability. Today's story is called the Draft House Conspiracy. They called themselves careful because cowards often mistake silence for strategy. No names, no meetings, no phone calls after midnight, no text that can glow in the dark under a subpoena. Only coded essays buried in Substack reflections, calendar notes disguised as harmless reminders, software accounts nested inside of other software accounts, and one shared email login where nothing was ever sent. The group wrote inside a draft, each member entering the same locked room of words, adding fragments, deleting panic, revising threats into metaphors, believing that because the message never traveled, the evidence never existed. Their little invention made them feel brilliant, almost priestly, as if secrecy itself had initiated them into some higher order, or some secret society of self-perceived importance. But the sky above them had already turned. See, Venus and Cancer made their motives emotional, possessive, and family-bound. Venus sextile Mars in the fifth gave their cruelty a theatrical confidence almost. Venus squared Saturn in the seventh exposed the rot in their alliances. Venus squared sensitive degree Neptune in the ninth turned belief into delusion, holier than thou mentality, if you will. And Venus conjuncts sensitive degree Pluto in the 10th whispered that power always demands a public reckoning. And Venus trying the sensitive degree in the North Node in the 11th ensured that the network that they built would become the network that betrayed them. At the center of it all was a target they had mistaken for isolated. That was the first mistake. The second was letting the most frightened among them believe himself useful. He wanted results. Wanted the target and the target's family shaken, watched, exhausted, surrounded by invisible pressure. So he paid a hacker in the unusual language of weak men. Money, urgency, lies, and the promise that the victim absolutely deserved it. But the hacker was not loyal to their story. The hacker was loyal only to what could be seen beneath it. And once the hacker peered into the machinery behind the request, something kind of shifted. There were drafts. There were servers. There were hidden patterns and repeated phrases and smug little rituals of concealment. There was the disgusting realization that the group did not merely communicate in secret. They had built a chapel for conspiracy called it cleverness. By then, Neptune, Saturn, and Chiron had gathered in Aries like three wounded judges wearing helmets of fire. Neptune dissolved their excuses. Saturn counted every step. Chiron exposed the wound they kept pretending was somebody else's. Meanwhile, Uranus, the Sun, and Mercury and Taurus made the truth stubborn, physical, and impossible to erase. Data with weight, records with roots, evidence that would not float away just because they renamed it, or hid it in a locker on AW3 or cubicles, rivers on that Amazon software, coding systems. The hacker, enraged less by the crime than the arrogance of it, turned the group's own architecture inside out. Their secret server became a lantern. Their draft room became a confession booth, and their unsent messages, once believed to be ghosts, became bodies with fingerprints. When the FBI received the material, the investigation did not begin with a bang. It began with silence. The cold, administrative silence of professionals reading what fools thought nobody would ever see. The draft email wasn't a loophole. It was a ledger. Every edit showed hierarchy. Every phrase revealed intent. Every deleted sentence still carried the shape of the hand that touched it. The Substack posts, the coded software trails, the shared login, the false innocence, the outsourced harassment, the paid intrusion, all of it formed a constellation. And under that constellation, a group finally understood the oldest rule of hidden things. A conspiracy does not disappear because it avoids speaking aloud. Sometimes it only waits, patiently, inside an unsent draft until the right witness opens the door. And when that door opens, ego is allowed to prosper. And in that prosperity, a do not detain order would be issued, mostly to view choice organically and follow patterns. It'd be like following a frequency to the source of the problem. But one can only speculate. We're going to end this with the chariot of the unsent draft because the energy of the chariot came to me strong today. I call the wheels forward, not backward in fear, not sideways into rumor, not downward into the mouths of those who hid in rooms and mistake shadows for strategy. I call the chariots, black horse, white horse, will and witness, iron and moonlight, two forces pulling one truth through a city of locked doors. Let the hidden hand shake, let the clever tongue split on its own code. Let every draft that never flew grow wings of evidence. Let every message they buried become a bell in the tower. Let every lie dressed as silence stand up, name itself, and walk into the light without being summoned twice. I do not chase, I command the road. I do not beg the gates, I arrive with the seal of movements, with Cancer's guarded heart, with Taurus' immovable proof, with Aries' burning wound turned into armor. Neptune may fog the glass, but the chariot cuts through the mist. Saturn may weigh the hour, but the wheels, they still turn. Chiron may show the wound, but the wound becomes the map. Uranus strikes the wire, the sun exposes the room. Mercury reads the record aloud, and Venus in Cancer protects the house, the blood, the children, and the innocent flame. So let the server become a temple of confession. Let the screen become a mirror. Let the unsent become undeniable. Let the cowards who hid behind shared keys discover that there is no door that truth cannot enter. I ride with discipline. I ride with focus. I ride with the calm of one who no longer needs to prove that the storm does indeed exist. The wheels know, the road knows, the stars know, and the record absolutely knows. By the chariot, I move forward. By the chariot, I do not break. By the chariot, what was hidden is carried into just judgment. By the chariot, what was stolen returns by force of law, fate, and fire. And when the final gates open, I do not arrive as revenge. I arrive as direction. I arrive as consequence. I arrive as the driver of my own destiny. Hands steady, eyes forward, crowned by truth and truth alone. They thought never to leave the draft. By crown unseen and throne unshaken, by key beneath the tongue and star beneath the bone, let the word be weighed, let the hidden hand be known, let false doors close and rightful doors answer. What was whispered in shadow is now entered into the ledger of fire. What was bound in silence is now carried by witness, seal, and sovereign breath. No mask outranks the mirror. No lie survives the royal measure. No stolen power keeps its borrowed throne. The crown has heard. The gate has turned. The mark is now set. Thus it is sealed beyond recall. As the hive mind emperor, it has been whispered. So it is decreed. And so it is. I'll see you in the next one.